Now let's take a look at ZModeler when used with characters. So when we're building our low resolution base meshes, a big workflow would be to go in and not really worry too much about the topology at this point and just do all of your sculpting and then retopologize at the end. But if you want to build a little bit more of a usable base mesh or something that reflects what you're planning to sculpt, you can also use ZModeler on your characters to do a little bit of traditional modeling on those. So for instance, let's say we wanted to create an eye loop in here. Well, we could come in and you can see where the eyes are supposed to be. Let's grab the ZModeler, and so you can see here are our polygons. We can kind of figure out where or which polygons that we want to use. If you want to, if there's some that aren't really right in the right spot, we can actually go to move and kind of move those over a little bit. So maybe something like that, and kind of prepare the spot where you want to have those. You could also come in and add edge loops in the right spot. So for instance, if we didn't have a loop in the right spot, for instance, maybe we want one right down there, we could go in and add one there. So maybe it needs to be kind of up here. So we'll kind of move our points around until we get them where we want. Go back to our ZModeler, and with the edges selected, we will go ahead and add those edges. Now we do want to, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the lower level on this. So let's delete lower. Now we can add an edge loop in there, and then when our polygon selected, I'm going to hit Alt and just do a temporary polygroup there. And then I want to do an inset, and we'll just do single poly. Now you can see right now it's kind of insetting those as individuals. So we want to set inset region all the way at the bottom. So that'll allow us to inset that region. Okay, now onto the mouth, I want to have kind of a loop right around there. And so let's go back to move and get our points in a good spot. So let's maybe bring this up a little bit here. So it's kind of something like that. Let's go in with our ZModeler now. And I'm going to just grab those. Okay, now let's do an inset on those. So something like that. And then we can go in and reform those. And again, on the points, it's actually set to just move, so I can actually just go in and move the points like that. Okay, so you got a loop there for the mouth. Now you will need to, kind of tweak the shape of it a little bit. For the nose, we can do the same thing here. So let's come in, and even for the brows, we can do that. But let's start with the nose. So create a new polygroup there. Let's inset it a little bit, and then we could say, okay, I want to actually move that. So, and I want to move the let's do polygroup island, and so I'll move that out, and then I can go in with the move brush and figure that out. And kind of blend that back in. Okay, then you could do the same thing up on the brows if you wanted to. So kind of coming in here and maybe something like that. And instead of moving it, let's Q mesh it. And we want to do single poly. Okay, so something like that. Let's turn off our grids now so we can see a little bit better. Now let's hover over this point. Come in here. And I'm going to go to Stitch. And let's go to Endpoint. And I'm going to click this point. and then this point. There we go. And that's going to stitch those together. So click, click. And then we can switch that to move if we want to. And now just move those around. But just make it so that they kind of blend into the surface a little bit better. So at least now you've got, you know, some better topology to be able to work with as you go in and now start to match that up. So then you would go in with your move, maybe. Turn this back on. And we could start to kind of move this out. Get symmetry on. We've got this, the nose that we want to sort of move out there. And then back, kind of moving the nose back into the surface a little bit. But it kind of lets you get the structure set before you actually start going in and doing a ton of sculpting. Which, depending on the way that you work, you might want to work that way, you might not. A lot of times people will just kind of sculpt in the details and then go back at the very end and retopologize. But sometimes I'll do that sort of in the middle. If I know I'm getting close, but I'm having a hard time, you know, getting some detail in because of the limitations of the topology, sometimes I'll go in and tweak that topology. So this will make it a little bit easier when we start to subdivide this to get the kind of details, you know, that we want. We can also come in here, and when we get this mouth kind of pulled up and a bit narrower, we could come in and extrude that in with QMesh or with extrude to make an opening in there. Okay, so something like that, but you can use ZModeler on characters to get loops in there where you need them, or if you have an area of your model where you know you're going to need a certain kind of detail, it can be used to add topology in that area so that you're not overly subdividing in order to get enough resolution to get the right kind of detail that you want to get. So next, let's take a look at Shadowbox. Shadowbox is another cool method. There's lots of different kinds of ways to create geometry in ZBrush. This is another way using masks, and we'll use it to create sort of a stamped piece for the inside of the watch. So we'll do that next.